Have you ever stopped and wondered just how utterly amazing it is how we all communicate to each other? Out of the thousands and thousands of species out there, most of which can communicate on a very basic level, maybe about food or danger, we are able to communicate about literally endless possibilities. We can talk about the weather, to sports, to even the topic of communication. Like, how crazy is that? Even more so, we're typically able to do this by a very young age, by about 3 or 4 years old. That's all we need to be able to start communicating with each other. Now, you might ask yourself, how do we communicate? It just seems so complex and there's so much stuff going on. But in reality, there are a couple different theories, ranging from relatively simple to extremely complex, such as linguistics. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, be my guest. One theory that I really like is a relatively simple theory by the psychologist V.F. Skinner. For those who don't know who he is, V.F. Skinner is a very famous psychologist who, at the time when there were a lot of psychologists really talking about the mind a lot, things like attention and different cognitive processes, V.F. Skinner said, I don't really like this. It's hard to really explain a lot of these constructs. So I want to look at human behavior from a very objective and observational point of view. He did a lot of research with rats. So one thing he really looked hard at was how humans communicate. He came up with verbal behavior. Now, verbal behavior can be a bit complex, but I was able to break it down into 4 relatively simple behaviors that explain from how we learn from a baby to about 3 to 4 years old. And these 4 behaviors are manding, tacting, echoics, and intraverbal. Did I lose you guys?
Yeah.
I know it sounds really weird and they're kind of goofy names, but as I explain them, you'll see it actually makes a lot of sense. So the very first verbal behavior we all learn as humans is called a mand. It's a very funny word, but it really just means demand, right? It's how we express what our needs and desires. And right when we come out of the womb, what's the first thing we all do as babies? We cry. That is a mand. We are telling everybody around us, hey, I need something. It's very rudimentary. It's not very effective because our parents typically are like, oh my gosh, what do you need? Do you need maybe a bottle, or do you need some food? Or do you need a hug, or I don't know. But typically, it does help us get what we need. Over time, we start developing, and maybe if we want our bottle, for example, we might start saying, baba, baba. And your parents might go, oh, maybe he wants the bottle. Okay, here's the bottle. The baby goes, oh, that's actually really helpful. I now know how to ask for a bottle. And eventually it goes from baba to bottle. And then eventually from bottle to very complex, such as, excuse me, I would actually like my bottle with the dog and the cute hat, please. Thank you very much. From mand, we now go to the next verbal behavior of a tact. This one doesn't really have a easy way to explain it. Tacting really just means labeling the environment. And technically what I'm doing right now is tacting. So once a kid starts learning how to mand and ask for things he wants, he doesn't always want everything. He may go to the park and just be like, oh, grass, dog, cat, clouds, sun. And the consequence of that behavior is the parent saying, yeah, that's right. That's the sun, that's the clouds, that's the dog. Good job. There's no actual communication going on. They're just labeling things that are happening. And this kind of helps us to the next verbal behavior, which is echoic. We're starting now to get into the actual communication between people. Echoic is how it sounds. It's an echo. It's when I say something, you say the exact same thing that I do. So if I say hello, you say hello. I say goodbye, you say goodbye. And you'll see a lot of like 1 to 1.5-year-olds do this all the time. So you might be like, hey, how you doing, buddy? They'll say, hey, how you doing, buddy? You say, oh, I'm doing really well, thanks for asking. And they'll say, I'm doing really well, thanks for asking. And you'll go, that's super annoying. And they'll go, that's super annoying. You get the drift. And typically this is how we learn to communicate. And once we learn how to echo, we start copying everything that people say. We go to the most complex verbal behavior, which is the intraverbal. Again, intraverbal is how it sounds. It's the interconnection between verbal behavior. So this is our actual communication. We start off with saying like, hello, how's your day going? Next person will say, my day is going well. How about yourself? That person will say, it's going well as well. Thank you very much. How's the weather today? You might say, the weather's really good. What do you think about the sports? And I would say, like, I don't want to talk about sports, but thanks. So this intercommunication between different types of behavior. And that's basically it. So we start off very young, demanding, we ask for things we want. That's all we care about. We want things. And then eventually we start labeling things in our environment. Then people start talking to us and we go, oh, I can copy you and I get some reward for it. And then eventually we now start communicating through interverbals. And again, all this is done by the age of about 3 or 4 years old. So I now implore you, if you all get the pleasure of talking to a 3 or 4-year-old, just remember how amazing it is that they have learned from crying all the way to having a simple conversation in the span of just a couple years. And that is how we all find our voice. Thank you so much.